5,000 people live on a strip of steel 4.5 acres wide, moving through open ocean at 30 miles an hour. There is no sidewalk, no shoulder, no place to step aside, and almost everything you are allowed to do on land. Walk where you like, carry what you like, leave a door open behind you, is forbidden here. These are not manners. They are not paperwork. Every rule on this ship exists because something went wrong once, somewhere, and someone wrote down what caused it. The list is long, it is strange, and to an outsider, most of it looks like overreaction. It isn't. Each line is the shortest possible description of a consequence. Start with the geography. A carrier is a city that cannot be left. 3,000 meals a day, a power plant, a hospital, a fire department made of everyone. 20 decks of compartments, each one sealed from the next. And on top of it, a runway where aircraft land at 140 miles an hour, roughly every 60 seconds. So the first rule is about clothes. You are not allowed to set foot on the flight deck without a colored jersey, a helmet, goggles, and a float coat. Not because someone likes uniforms, because on that deck, the color you wear is the only thing anyone will read about you before deciding whether to move. Yellow directs aircraft, green handles, catapults, and arresting gear, red is ordnance, purple is fuel, blue moves tractors, brown owns a specific aircraft, white is safety and medical. From 40 yards away, in noise that erases voices, the color tells everyone what you are doing and what you will do next, which means a person in the wrong color, or no color, is not just out of place. They are invisible in the only language that deck speaks. Nobody knows which way they will step. And on a surface where a jet is being aimed by hand signals, a body that moves unpredictably is a hazard the size of an aircraft. Rule 2. You are not allowed to carry anything loose. Not a pen clipped to a pocket, not coins, not a badge on a lanyard. Pockets are emptied before you step out. Hats are secured or left below. The Navy has a name for anything that isn't tied down. Foreign object debris. A jet intake pulls in air hard enough to lift a grown adult off the deck. It does not distinguish between air and a bolt. A single screw drawn into a turbine destroys the engine from the inside in under a second. That's tens of millions of dollars, an aircraft that may not make it back, and a runway closed with aircraft still in the air. So twice a day, everyone available walks the deck shoulder to shoulder, from bow to stern, heads down, picking up anything that isn't part of the ship. Officers do it, cooks do it. It is called the FOD walkdown, and it is the most literal rule on the ship. The deck must be empty of everything except the deck. Rule 3, you are not allowed to cross behind a running aircraft or in front of one. Behind it is jet blast, an exhaust stream hot enough to blister paint, moving fast enough to throw a person over the side. In front is the intake. There is a marked path around each aircraft, and it is not optional. This is why the deck looks choreographed. Nobody walks in a straight line. They walk arcs, wide of the noses, wide of the tails, hands visible, eyes up. New arrivals are told the same thing every time. If you don't know where you are, stop and squat. A still person can be worked around. A wandering one cannot. Rule 4, you are not allowed on that deck without hearing protection. Both plugs and the muffs built into the helmet. A jet at full power on the catapult sits around 150 decibels. That is past the point where sound is heard and into the point where it is felt in the chest and the sinuses. Hearing does not grow back. The damage is silent while it happens and permanent when it's done. So the rule is enforced the way few others are. No protection, no deck, no exceptions, not for a minute, not to take one photograph. The people who wrote it had already met the alternative. Now go below. Rule 5, you are not allowed to leave a hatch or a watertight door the way you found it unless you know how it is supposed to be. Every door carries a letter, X, Y, Z, and that letter says whether it may be open, when, and by whom. A carrier survives damage by being divided. Hundreds of sealed boxes so that whatever gets in, water, smoke, fire, stays in one box instead of all of them. That division only exists while the doors are shut. An open door is not a door. It is a hole in the design, which is why an open hatch is treated as seriously as it is. Water follows the path it's given. Smoke follows it faster. One door propped open with a wrench because someone was coming right back turns 2 compartments into 1, then 4, then a section. The ship is only as watertight as its least careful person. Subscribe. Rule 6 sounds petty until you see the ship move. You are not allowed to use ladders however you like. Going up, you use the starboard side. Coming down, the port side. In passageways, you keep right. On some ships, certain ladders run one direction only during flight operations. The reason is arithmetic. Those ladders are narrow enough that 2 people cannot pass without turning sideways. When an alarm sounds, several hundred people need to move through them at once in a specific direction, wearing gear. A single person going the wrong way does not slow the flow. It stops it. Rule 7. You are not allowed to not know where you are supposed to be. Every sailor has a general quarter station, a place they run to when the alarm sounds. Memorized, no reference card. Not knowing it is not a small failure. It is a hole in the crew where a body should be. When general quarters is called, the entire ship reorganizes in about 4 minutes. Traffic goes forward and up on the starboard side, aft and down on the port side. Doors that were open close. Doors that were closed are checked. And every compartment reports in by name until the whole ship has been accounted for. Rule 8. You are not allowed to walk past a fire and go get someone. There is nobody to get. The carrier has no fire department in the way a town does. There is a trained damage control team, and behind it there is everybody else. Cooks, clerks, mechanics, all of whom fought fires in training before they ever specialized. Out here, help does not arrive. There is no engine coming, no hydrant on the corner, no mutual aid from the next town over. The nearest land may be 1,000 miles away. Whatever is going to be done about a fire will be done by the people already standing in that passageway in the first 2 minutes. So they rehearse it constantly, hoses run, masks on, compartments smoked out with training haze. Teams crawl through corridors they know by heart and still count doors with their hands. The point isn't heroism. The point is that when it happens for real, nobody has to decide anything. They have already done it 100 times. Rule 9. You are not allowed to throw anything over the side, not a wrapper, not a can, not a cigarette. Every carrier tracks its own waste. Plastics compacted and stored, metal shredded, food waste handled by strict rules on distance from shore. What goes over the side is logged, and most of it isn't allowed to. Part of that is environmental law. Part of it is older and colder. Things that float are evidence. A trail of debris tells anyone who finds it that a large ship passed here, roughly when and roughly where it was heading. A warship spends a great deal of effort not being a line on somebody's map. Rule 10. You are not allowed to use fresh water freely. The ship makes its own, hundreds of thousands of gallons a day, distilled from seawater. It sounds like plenty. It is not. That same system feeds the catapults, the propulsion plant, the laundry, the galleys, and every shower on 20 decks. When production drops, the ship goes to water hours. Showers become 60 seconds, wet, water off, soap, water on, rinse. Laundry stops. It is remembered as the most hated rule aboard, and it is enforced anyway, because the alternative is choosing between clean sailors and a launch cycle. Rule 11. You are not allowed to keep food in your berthing. No snacks in the rack, no open bags in a locker. Meals happen in the mess decks and stay there. In a sealed steel building holding thousands of people, a single overlooked crumb trail is not a mess. It is a population. The galley runs around the clock and serves something close to 17,000 meals a day. 4 meals, not 3, the 4th at midnight for the crews who work nights. Every surface is scrubbed to a schedule and inspected against a checklist. One outbreak of anything contagious moves through a crew like fire through a passageway. Rule 12, and the one civilians find hardest to believe. You are not allowed alcohol. Not in your locker, not in your bag, not at any hour for the entire deployment, which may be 8 or 9 months. U.S. Navy ships have been dry since 1914, when the order came down and the wine mess closed for good. The logic is the same as everything else here. There is no version of this job that tolerates a slow reaction. Machinery that removes fingers, aircraft landing overhead, a reactor plant, a weapons magazine. Somebody at every hour is holding something that will not forgive a delay of half a second. Rule 13, you are not allowed to start, energize, or open anything on your own authority. Systems get tagged out. A physical tag hung on the switch, logged, signed. To remove it takes the person who hung it and a second person who verifies. One signature is never enough, because the tag usually means a human being is inside something. Inside a duct, behind a panel, under a piece of machinery, in a space with no window and no way to be seen. The tag is the only thing standing between that person and a switch that someone thinks nobody is using. Rule 14, you are not allowed to lose a tool. Every wrench and screwdriver lives in a shadowed foam cutout, and at the end of a job, the box is checked against the shapes. If something is missing, work stops. Not later. Right then. Aircraft are held, spaces are searched, because a missing screwdriver is not an inconvenience. It is a piece of metal, somewhere, in a machine, on a deck, or inside an airframe, about to be catapulted off the bow. The rule doesn't care how likely that is. It only cares that the alternative is unacceptable, and the check takes 10 minutes. And then there are the small ones. No hats indoors, no hands in pockets. Bunks made, lockers squared, boots at the same angle. These get laughed at hardest by newcomers and defended hardest by everyone else, because they are not really about hats or pockets at all. They are a daily test of whether a person still notices detail. Somebody who stops seeing the small things is going to stop seeing the ones that matter. The door letter, the loose bolt, the tag on the switch. The petty rules are a low-cost way of checking, every single morning, that attention is still there. Put together, none of this is a list anyone recites. Ask a sailor for the rules and they'll shrug. They don't remember them as rules. After a few months, they are simply how the body moves. Pockets checked at the door, right side of the passageway, hand on the hatch to feel whether it's warm. That's the real answer to what sailors aren't allowed to do out here. Almost nothing is forbidden for its own sake. Each line is a consequence someone already met, written backwards. And one of the heaviest sights with a single person, alone, awake, in the middle of the night. What actually happens when you fall asleep on watch. That's next.
0-1.